Hello students, it's Dr. Campbell checking in with you at almost the halfway point in the course. Just wanted to touch base and let y'all know how great of a job I think you're doing out there. Also wanted to touch on a couple of concepts that we're covering this week as we review the ways in which cells use energy. For those of you who have read my background information, you saw that I was a neuroscientist before coming to the teaching realm of things. And some of those studies encompass how the brain operates. Sometimes its role in long-term memory storage. I've also done some studies looking at the nucleus that may or may not be responsible for sudden infant death syndrome. And one thing that these studies all have in common is that the brain requires ATP in order to function. And so in order to make ATP, we need the raw materials, which are oxygen and glucose, as you've learned throughout some of our studies so far. So neuronal communication, or the firing of synapses on one another, is one of the ways in which our cells require energy. Another way would be muscle contraction. So if I asked each of you to get up out of your seats right now and run a lap around the neighborhood or the outdoor parking lot, you might notice after a little while your respiratory rate goes up, and you might even start to generate some extra body heat and maybe even a little bit of perspiration. So whenever cells are using ATP, heat is given off as a byproduct. So muscle contraction, both of skeletal muscles, voluntary contraction, and smooth muscle, as well as cardiac muscle, which work under involuntary contraction. Those types of body cells also require lots of ATP. And every other body cell in between requires ATP to some extent as it undergoes chemical reactions. So reactions wherever we are building something larger from smaller things, we could refer to these as synthesis or condensation reactions. Whenever we're making a chemical bond, we must put energy or ATP into the formation of those bonds. Another way that we might use ATP in cells is through active transport. Whenever we are changing a concentration gradient, where we're moving molecules from an area of low concentration to an area of already high concentration, so we're going against the gradient in that example, those situations would also require ATP. So out of the four types of energy uses that we've used for the cell, now you can see that ATP is very important to cells. It's important to brain function. It's important to muscle contraction and the everyday activities of your body cells. So I hope you found this helpful. And if you have any further questions on anything, please feel free to reach out to me over email. Keep up the great work.